She walked straight up to me naked, touched my face, and said, "Do even breathe." The sky shimmered with faint green auroras, and the ground pulsed lightly, as if the planet itself were alive. Eric had been on dozens of expeditions before, but something about this world made even him uneasy. His scanner beeped softly, warning of unusual energy spikes in the nearby forest. He frowned. "Just a few meters more," he muttered to himself, checking the pulse readings. Every step he took made the ground hum under his boots, the vibrations syncing with the soft energy spikes around him. He had been sent here to survey the unexplored zones near the colony. Human settlements on Erythra Prime were small but growing, and the Council of Exploration wanted every inch mapped. But no one had gone deep into this forest before. The colony's automated drones had failed to return, disappearing without a trace. Eric knew the forest was dangerous, but curiosity, the one trait humans never lost, kept him moving forward. A sudden rustle made him freeze. His hand went instinctively to the stun baton at his belt, but what emerged from the undergrowth was nothing he had expected. A humanoid figure stepped out, tall and elegant, her skin a soft, iridescent white that reflected the faint green glow of the plants. She had no clothing, no armor, no equipment, just herself. Eric's mouth went dry. He had studied alien species for years, but none had ever appeared to him like this, so calm, so bold, and so unafraid. The figure walked straight up to him. Every instinct screamed at him to step back, but he found he could not move. She stopped mere inches from his face, and he felt a strange warmth from her touch as her fingers brushed his cheek. "Don't even breathe," she whispered. The words did not travel through sound. Eric realized instantly that she was speaking directly into his mind. The voice was soft but firm, commanding attention. He forced his heart to slow and nodded slightly. He could feel her awareness, probing gently like water flowing over stone. What are you?" he asked aloud, though he doubted she would answer in speech. Her eyes, large and luminous, flickered with an internal light. She did not speak aloud. The words came again in his mind, clearer this time. "I am Lyra. You are human. I have watched you. Do not disturb the balance." Eric swallowed hard, a telepathic being. He had read about them in the old research archives but never seen one. He felt both fear and fascination. "What balance?" he asked, keeping his voice low. "The forest is alive, it senses, it judges, and it can act." Eric's gaze swept the forest. The plants shifted subtly, shadows moving where there should be none. He felt it, like a heartbeat under his boots, faint but unmistakable. The forest was conscious, and apparently it did not like intruders. Lyra's fingers remained on his cheek, but the pressure was light, reassuring. Somehow her touch calmed the sense of foreboding. "You are brave," she said. "Most humans would flee at this point." Eric managed a small smile. "Curiosity gets the better of me sometimes." "You are fortunate. The forest has tested others and they failed." He could feel a subtle shift in the energy around him. The plant's glow intensified, and the hum underfoot grew louder, like a low, warning chant. Eric realized that every step forward was being observed, evaluated. "I don't want to fail," he admitted. "I just want to explore, to understand." Her eyes softened. "Then follow me, but move carefully. One wrong step and the forest will act." Without another word, Lyra turned and began walking deeper into the forest. Her movement was graceful, almost floating, but Eric noticed that every footfall avoided disturbing the ground too much. He followed, keeping his pace steady, scanning the surroundings. The forest seemed alive in more ways than one. Massive vines coiled around tree trunks, moving subtly as though sensing them. Plants with translucent leaves emitted pulses of light whenever Eric brushed past them. Strange insects hovered in the air, glowing faintly. He had never seen such intricate ecosystems. Why are you helping me?" he asked finally, his curiosity getting the better of caution. "Because you are human. You think differently, you adapt, you learn, you solve problems." The forest wants to see if your kind deserves to survive here. Eric nodded slowly. He understood. Humans had always survived because of their ingenuity, even in places that seemed impossible. As they moved further, the forest grew denser. The trees twisted in strange geometries, and the path seemed almost alive, rearranging itself subtly. Eric used his scanner, trying to map the terrain, but the readings fluctuated wildly. The energy pulses were growing stronger, and he realized that this part of the forest might be dangerous. Suddenly, a shadow moved across their path. It was massive, much larger than any animal he had seen on Erythra Prime. Its body glowed with faint bioluminescence, and its eyes, if they could be called eyes, seemed to look directly at him. Eric froze, heart pounding. Lyra raised a hand, and he felt her thought in his mind. Do not panic. Observe. Learn. Adapt. The creature approached slowly. It did not attack, but the energy around it made the hairs on Eric's arms stand on end. He noticed that the creature's movements were rhythmic, almost like it was connected to the forest's pulse. He had an idea. Using his multi-tool, he activated a small light emitter, projecting a soft pattern of pulses into the air. The creature paused. Its glow flickered, almost as if it were communicating. Eric adjusted the pulses, making a simple rhythm. Slowly the creature stepped aside, allowing them to pass. Lyra's mind touched his again. You adapt well. The forest observes your intelligence, your respect. You may continue. Eric exhaled a long breath, marveling at the alien connection. Humans had always survived because they could think under pressure, and right now, that trait was saving his life. They continued deeper into the forest, and Eric noticed something remarkable. Certain plants formed patterns in the air, creating corridors of light that guided their path. It was as if the forest itself was leading them somewhere, but he had no idea where. You are close to the heart, Lyra communicated. Here, the forest shows its truth. What truth? He asked, though he already had a sense that it was something extraordinary. The forest is more than soil and plant. It is energy, consciousness, memory, life that observes and judges all it touches. Eric felt a chill, but it was not fear. It was awe. The human mind had always sought the unknown, and now he was seeing it in ways that defied imagination. Suddenly, the ground trembled slightly. A low, resonant hum filled the air. Eric's scanner went haywire, unable to measure the energy spikes. Lyra's hand left his face, but he could feel her presence all around him, guiding him. Do not be afraid. Trust your mind. Trust your hands. Eric adjusted the tools he carried, connecting the portable energy stabilizer to a nearby crystalline plant. He had no idea if it would work, but he remembered the human principle: try, observe, adjust. A small pulse of energy shot into the plant, and the tremor stopped. The forest seemed to settle, as if satisfied with his action. Lyra's voice touched his mind again. You have potential. You may survive. You may understand. Eric allowed himself a small smile. This was more than exploration. This was a test, and humans had always thrived under tests that required creativity and courage. As they continued forward, Eric noticed something else. Patterns of bioluminescent light formed shapes, almost like symbols. He traced them with his finger and realized they were maps of the forest's energy currents, guiding safe paths and warning of danger. Humans can learn, Lyra said in his mind, almost amused. And you do so quickly. He nodded, thinking about the centuries of human innovation, from building machines that could fly to machines that could explore the depths of space. And here he was, on a new world, proving the same truth. Humans could survive, adapt, and even earn the trust of an alien intelligence. The forest opened up into a clearing. At its center stood a massive crystalline structure, glowing faintly with energy that pulsed in rhythm with the planet itself. Eric took a step forward, feeling the hum vibrate through his body. This, he realized, was the heart of the forest. Lyra stood beside him, her touch gentle once more. You have reached the center. Here, You will learn what humans must know to survive on Earthra Prime. Eric looked around in awe, knowing that his journey was only beginning. He had faced the unknown, adapted, and survived. And in that moment, he understood why Lyra had appeared, why she had touched his face, and why she had whispered the words that would stay with him forever. Don't even breathe. It was not a warning of fear. It was a warning of respect. To survive here, to truly understand this world, he had to move carefully, think carefully, and live carefully. Humanity had been tested, and so far it had passed. The crystalline heart of the forest pulsed softly, casting faint, shifting lights across the clearing. Eric Dane stood in awe, staring at the vast structure. The crystals seemed alive, vibrating with energy that synced perfectly with the faint pulse of the planet beneath him. He could feel it in his bones. The planet itself was a conscious being, and somehow this structure was its core. Lyra remained at his side, calm and composed, her presence reassuring. She had not touched him this time, but her telepathic voice still resonated in his mind. This is the heart. All energy flows from here. It judges, it tests, it protects. Eric swallowed. Judges, tests, protects. From what? From any being that does not understand balance. That disrupts without respect. That fails to see life as a whole. He looked at the glowing patterns running through the crystalline structure. They shifted when he moved, almost like the forest itself was responding to his presence. He realized that any step he took mattered, any action could cause a reaction. You are human. You learn. You adapt. You may continue. Eric nodded, adjusting his multi-tool scanner. He began recording the energy pulses and mapping the crystal formations. The structure was enormous, far larger than the clearing suggested. It twisted upward into the forest canopy, crystal spires weaving in impossible shapes. "This is incredible," he whispered aloud. "I've never seen anything like it. Few have. Most fail before they reach here," Lyra replied. "Humans survive because you think differently. You question, you experiment, you learn from failure." Eric smiled faintly. That was a trait humans had carried for millennia. On Earth, they had survived earthquakes, floods, storms, and worse. Here on Earthra Prime, they were surviving another test. As he moved closer to the structure, the crystals began to resonate more strongly, reacting to his scanning equipment. The energy pulses increased in intensity, and he could feel static in the air. He adjusted the energy stabilizer, connecting it to a nearby crystal. The device hummed, absorbing and diffusing some of the energy. "Good," Lyra said, her telepathy warm with approval. "You understand balance. Humans are capable." Eric nodded, realizing how extraordinary it was that a telepathic alien would trust him. Most species he had encountered had been cautious, distant, or aggressive. Lyra was different. She had judged him and deemed him worthy. Suddenly, the ground trembled again, stronger than before. Eric stumbled, catching himself on the nearest crystal. The pulses in the structure accelerated, bright flashes of light spreading across its surface. "What's happening?" he shouted, his voice trembling. "The forest is communicating," Lyra said. "It reacts to your presence and tests your understanding." Eric's eyes widened. "Communicating how?" "Through energy, through patterns, through resonance. You can understand if you observe carefully." He focused on the crystal patterns, tracing them with his eyes. The pulses formed sequences, shifting rhythmically. He realized they were not random, they were a language of energy. The crystals were teaching, warning, guiding. "You are learning quickly," Lyra observed. Few humans would notice the patterns so soon. Eric's heart raced with excitement. This was why humans survived, because they could adapt in ways no other species could. He began mimicking the energy patterns with his stabilizer, sending back simple pulses that matched the crystal sequences. Slowly, the tremors subsided. "Good. You respect the forest. You act with care. You observe and respond." A sense of relief washed over him. He could feel the forest settling, almost like a living being breathing again. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly in approval. "Lyra, why are you here?" he asked. "Why guide me? Why help me?" Because the forest needs allies, it recognizes potential, it senses your species is different. You can adapt, you can learn, you can survive. Eric thought about that. Humans had always survived because they were inventive, brave, and persistent. Even in hostile environments, they found solutions. Here, Lyra had judged those traits worthy. He took a cautious step closer to the crystal spire at the center. Energy ripples pulsed outward with each movement he made. He realized he had to move carefully. One wrong step could trigger the forest's defense. Suddenly, a section of the forest around the clearing seemed to shift. Massive vines with bioluminescent thorns twisted upward, forming a wall around them. Eric froze, realizing the forest was testing him further. The forest tests understanding. You must act without fear, using both mind and hands, Lyra's telepathy instructed. He scanned the wall of vines and noticed that some thorns glowed in sequences similar to the crystal patterns. He had an idea. Using his multi-tool, he emitted soft pulses of light into the thorns, mimicking the patterns he had learned. Slowly, the vines began to part, opening a path toward the center. You learn quickly. This is why humans are valuable, Lyra said. Eric felt a surge of pride. Every human in history had relied on curiosity, intelligence, and courage. Here, on an alien planet, he was proving that once again. As they moved forward, he noticed more signs of intelligence in the forest. Trees bent subtly, creating natural corridors. Plants emitted light pulses that marked safe pathways, while others glowed sharply to indicate danger. Even the small creatures, glowing insects and floating fauna, seemed to guide or warn them. "This is like a living library," he whispered, awestruck. "Yes. Knowledge is everywhere. Observe and learn. Humans must adapt to survive here." A sudden flash of light erupted from the crystal heart. The ground trembled again, but this time it was different, a soft, harmonious vibration rather than a warning. Eric felt it through his hands, chest, and even his mind. It was as if the forest was speaking directly to him. Lyra reached out and touched his shoulder. The touch sent a calm wave through him. "You are ready to see the truth. Follow." The central spire opened slightly, revealing an inner chamber glowing with energy. Eric stepped inside cautiously. The walls pulsed with light, forming complex patterns that shifted constantly. He could feel the life of the planet in every movement, every pulse. This is the core of understanding. You may take what knowledge you can comprehend. Eric approached the glowing formations. He scanned the patterns, recording them in his mind and device. The shapes seemed to represent energy flows, survival strategies, and ecological balance. The forest itself was teaching him. "You are quick to learn." Few humans could interpret this so well, Lyra observed. A sudden tremor shook the chamber. A larger creature emerged, massive and glowing like the ones he had encountered before. Its movements were more deliberate, intelligent. It circled him and Lyra, studying their reactions. Eric's mind raced. He had to stay calm, observe, and respond. He focused on the creature's movements, noting the rhythm in its steps. Using his stabilizer, he emitted pulses of energy that matched the creature's rhythm. Slowly, it calmed, then stepped aside, allowing them to continue. "You are proving your adaptability. You think differently, you learn from observation. This is why humans survive." Eric nodded, silently agreeing. Humans had always survived because they did not panic. They adapted, they experimented, they solved problems. Even here, on an alien world with a sentient forest, the same traits kept him alive. Lyra guided him to the inner chamber's center. There, a small pool of liquid energy shimmered, reflecting the light of the crystal walls. The pulses of the forest converged here, forming patterns that seemed like a living map. Eric could see flows of energy, pathways of life, and connections between every creature and plant. This is incredible," he breathed. "The entire forest is aware, connected, alive." Yes, and it respects those who respect it. You are learning well. Eric touched the edge of the pool carefully. A wave of energy rippled through him, and he saw visions, past explorers who had failed, creatures who had been lost, paths that led to survival, and paths that led to destruction. He realized the forest was not just alive. It was teaching, warning, and guiding all at once. This is the knowledge humans must understand to thrive on Earthra Prime, Lyra said. Eric nodded slowly. His heart pounded with awe and respect. He had never imagined such intelligence in a forest. Yet here he was, learning directly from it. Humans had always survived because they could think creatively, adapt quickly, and respect the world around them. As they left the chamber, the pulses of the forest slowed, almost as if it approved of their progress. Eric felt a deep sense of connection with Earthra Prime and with Lyra, who had guided him through this first real test. Remember this, Lyra's telepathy whispered. Humans are capable. You think differently. You survive through intelligence and courage. You are welcome here, but always with respect. Eric nodded, a sense of purpose settling over him. Humanity had survived countless challenges, and now, on Earthra Prime, they were proving themselves once again. He glanced at Lyra. Her eyes glowed softly, and he understood something fundamental. Humans were not the only intelligent beings, but their creativity and courage were extraordinary. Here, in the heart of the forest, they had earned respect. The forest pulsed gently around them, a living, breathing entity that had judged them worthy. And Eric knew that this was only the beginning. The journey was far from over, but humans had shown, once again, why they could survive and thrive in the most unexpected places. The clearing glowed faintly under the soft light of the crystalline heart. Eric Dane stood at the center, feeling the pulse of Earthra Prime through his feet, his hands, and even his mind. Each step he took sent ripples through the ground. Each breath seemed to sync with the rhythm of the planet itself. Lyra remained by his side, her telepathy calm and firm. She had guided him through the first challenges, taught him to observe, adapt, and respect the forest. But now the final test was before them. The ground trembled sharply. Energy surged through the crystalline spires. A wave of light cascaded across the clearing, reflecting in patterns that Eric could almost understand. The forest tests survival, Lyra said in his mind. It will judge whether humans can live here, thrive here, and respect life fully. You must act and act quickly. Eric glanced around. Massive creatures emerged from the surrounding trees, their glowing forms hovering just above the ground. Their eyes, or sensors, focused on him, waiting. The forest itself seemed alive with anticipation. He exhaled, reminding himself of the first rule humans had always lived by: observe, adapt, survive. Using his multi-tool, he scanned the creatures and the energy pulses surrounding them. The patterns were complex but not impossible. He began mapping safe zones, timing movements to coincide with the flow of energy. Good, you analyze, you learn. That is why humans survive, Lyra's thought came, steadying him. The creatures shifted, moving closer in unison, testing his reaction. The forest pulsed faster, and he realized it was amplifying their energy. One wrong step could trigger a surge that would sweep him off his feet, or worse. Eric's mind raced. Humans were adaptable. They solved impossible problems every day. He had to find a solution that was fast, precise, and effective. His eyes landed on a cluster of crystals near the center. They glowed brighter than the others, feeding energy into the forest. If he could stabilize them, redirect the pulses, he might calm the creatures and the forest simultaneously. But the timing had to be exact. One mistake, and it could amplify the energy instead of stabilizing it. Lyra, I need guidance, he sent the thought through their shared link. Observe, feel the rhythm, move with it. Your mind is clever, your hands are capable, she replied. Eric nodded to himself. He had survived deserts, storms, and the cold vacuum of space. He could survive this too. He ran toward the crystal cluster, his steps perfectly timed with the energy pulses. He connected the stabilizer, syncing it with the natural rhythm of the forest. Sparks of light danced along the crystal edges. The creatures froze, observing. The forest trembled violently, as if resisting him, but he adjusted the device in real time, using human ingenuity and instinct to respond to the forest's energy. Slowly the pulses began to calm, the vibrations in the ground softened, and the creatures stepped back, their eyes following him curiously rather than aggressively. Lyra's telepathic voice softened. You act with intelligence and respect. Humans survive because you combine observation, courage, and creativity. Eric allowed himself a brief smile. Humans had always solved problems in impossible situations. Here, in the heart of an alien forest, that same ingenuity had saved them. But the forest was not done. A massive surge of energy erupted from the crystalline heart, stronger than anything before. The ground shook and Eric barely managed to stay on his feet. The creatures around him hissed, and the pulse of the planet felt almost threatening. Now act. Not with force, but with thought and coordination, Lyra instructed. Eric analyzed the surge. It was a massive pulse designed to test the ability to respond under pressure. Humans had always been quick thinkers, able to improvise and invent under stress. He had learned that skill from centuries of human history, surviving natural disasters, building machines that defied gravity, and exploring the far reaches of space. He took a deep breath. The human principle was clear: adapt, improvise, succeed. Using his stabilizer, he created a feedback loop, channeling some of the energy back into the crystal cluster in a controlled pattern. He mimicked the pulse sequences the forest had taught him, matching the rhythm perfectly. Sparks flew, light streaked across the clearing, but the surge slowed. The creatures watched, calm now, as if approving of his actions. The forest seemed to breathe with him, the energy stabilizing gradually. You have proven it. You understand balance, life, and the flow of energy. Humans are capable of greatness. Lyra's thought radiated warmth. Eric felt a wave of relief. The forest's judgment had been passed, and humans had survived, not just by luck but by intelligence, creativity, and respect. He looked around at the crystalline spires. The forest was alive in a new way. Energy flowed smoothly through the clearing, pulsing gently, in harmony with the planet. The creatures drifted back into the forest, no longer threatening. You judged us," Eric said aloud, feeling both awe and humility. "And we passed." "Yes," Lyra answered. "Humans survive because you do not give up. You learn, you create solutions, you adapt. That is why you are welcome here." Eric nodded slowly. Humanity had always survived, even when the odds were impossible. On Earth, they had built cities in deserts, ships to explore the stars, and machines to endure the cold of space. Here, on Earthra Prime, the same traits had proven invaluable. Lyra's hand touched his shoulder lightly, not commanding, not warning, but connecting. The forest will now share knowledge with those who respect it. Humans may learn and thrive. He felt a hum in the crystals as patterns of light shifted into something like a map, a network of energy flows across the planet. Humans could use this knowledge to navigate, survive, and even help the colony expand safely. Eric's mind raced with the possibilities. Humans could adapt structures to match energy flows, avoid dangerous zones, and cooperate with the forest. This knowledge was priceless. This is incredible," he whispered. "Humans can survive anywhere if we think, adapt, and respect life." "Indeed," Lyra said. "That is why you are unique. That is why humans thrive." Suddenly, a soft vibration ran through the ground. The crystalline spires emitted pulses that formed a pattern Eric could feel in his mind. He realized it was a message from the forest itself, a message of welcome, trust, and knowledge. Humans had proven themselves. Their ingenuity, courage, and respect had earned the forest's trust. For the first time, the planet allowed humans to truly understand its life force. Eric looked at Lyra. "Thank you for guiding me, for trusting humans." Her eyes glowed softly. "You have earned it. Humans are clever, adaptable, and worthy. The forest respects those traits. Never forget them." A breeze, or what passed for a breeze on Earthra Prime, flowed through the clearing. The bioluminescent plants swayed gently, the creatures drifted quietly among the trees, and the crystalline heart pulsed steadily, a rhythm that promised stability and safety. Eric exhaled, a sense of accomplishment and awe washing over him. Humanity had survived again, not through brute force but through intelligence, courage, and ingenuity. The forest had tested him and he had adapted. Humans had thrived where others might have failed. He glanced at the distant colony, lights twinkling faintly through the alien trees. He would return with knowledge, maps, and tools that could help humans thrive safely here. But more than that, he would return with proof of a deeper truth. Humans could adapt to the unknown, solve impossible problems, and earn the respect of even the most alien intelligence. "This is only the beginning," Lyra said. "Humans have shown potential. You will learn more. You will grow." Eric nodded, feeling a sense of purpose stronger than ever. Humanity had faced the unknown for centuries, and now, on a distant alien planet, it had proven its value once again. He touched the edge of the central crystalline spire, feeling the hum of life, energy, and knowledge. "We are not alone," he thought, "and humans, we will survive. We will adapt. We will thrive." The forest pulsed gently, as if agreeing. Lyra stepped beside him, and together they stood in silence, listening to the heartbeat of the planet, a rhythm that promised survival, understanding, and a future for humanity on Earthra Prime. And for the first time in a long while, Eric felt a quiet certainty. Humans could face the unknown, respect life, and emerge stronger. They had proven themselves worthy in the eyes of an alien intelligence, and that proof would carry them forward into every challenge the universe had to offer. The forest was alive, the crystals shimmered, and humanity had triumphed.